So, welcome everyone to the first and only group reading of Mr. Jason Goes on Vacation. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for supporting the library. Your donations to purchase the book and help the library out. Mark, appreciate it. And leave someone else.
No, I thought it was
UPS. All right. UPS does not get the company. So I want to start off by saying, look forward to the future, to our next book, which is Everyone Else is on Vacation. And Mr. Jason has to, the picture will be Mr. Jason trying to do all of our jobs. Which will probably be easier than doing your job, because no one does story time like you do story time. So let me talk about the book for a minute and the inspiration for the book, for those of you who have not heard the story. I originally was Mr. Jason's assistant, and one of my jobs was to fill in for him when he wasn't in the library. So the primary thing that he did weekly was read story time. So when he went on vacation, I had to read story time. And the first time I went to read story time, he very nicely left me a list. This is what you do, step by step. Big group of kids. And if you remember, for those of you who are in the old library, we had a lot of people for story time. We had a bigger room. Right now, story time is limited to 30 people. But in the old library, there could be 80 people in that room. It was packed. There were so many kids in there. So I went in and I'm reading story time, or I'm getting ready to read. I'm introducing myself to the people who come in. I said, "Hi, I'm Mr. Derek. I'm Mr. Jason's assistant. I'm going to be reading story time today." And the kids came up. They gave me suspicious looks. Okay. One little boy came up and he was with his mom. I said, "Hi, I'm Mr. Derek. I'm going to read story time today. What's your name?" He looked at me and his mom said, "Oh, Mr. Jason's on vacation. He's not here to read story time today." So I smiled at the kid. I said, "Oh, it's okay, we're going to read story time." And he looked at me, and he looked at his mom, and he looked at me, and he looked at his mom, and he turned around, and he walked out the door. Because I was not Mr. Jason. And if you ever need your confidence shattered, have a 5-year-old walk out on you because you are not Mr. Jason.
And I'm 5 years old.
You're 5 years old? You wouldn't do that to me, though, right? So that gave me the thought. And at the time, there was another librarian named Rita who worked at the library. And she drew. She was an artist. And I worked with her at night. And I said, "Wouldn't it be funny if we told this story and we drew it?" And she said, "That would be a cool idea." So she started to draw, and we had the idea of putting together this book. It was really silly. But then she left. She moved away. And we shelved the idea for a while. And a couple years later, Kevel, who runs our anime club, which he teaches kids how to do artwork, he came in and he overheard Jason and I talking about this book and the idea we had. Again, it was just a fun idea we were thinking about. And he said, "I'd love to draw that. That would be great." And from then on, it picked up steam. We said, we're going to make this happen. We're going to create the book. We wrote the stories. I drew my little stick figures that Kevel then turned into the full pages of artwork. We went through and everyone approved of their pages, including some of the staff who couldn't be here today, and my predecessor, Mary, who was in the book. All approved their pages. He drew them, and then you, the patrons, our supporters, purchased the book, and that's where we're at, where we have a published book. It has a registered copyright. It is in DC in the archive, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed telling the story. I enjoyed making the book. I appreciate all the staff who were in the book. I hope you all enjoyed creating your page. I hope you enjoy this now. I did not tell them all we were doing this for today to ensure they would be here. So, how this is going to work, we're in order roughly of the pages. We're going to start and end with Mr. Jason. We're going to read, and you're going to have displayed in front of you the page that we're reading. Everyone else will be displaying the page that they are not reading. as we read. So again, thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed, and we have not rehearsed this. Let me read it again. When there is a stumble, it's okay. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed the first and only probable reading of Mr. Jason Goes on Vacation.
Well, I feel like I have to start any story time like I start my normal one. So, if you could hear me, clap once. If you could hear me, clap twice. Just hear me clap 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Hi. Awesome. All right, let's get started here. This is Mr. Jason, me, Goes on Vacation. Story by Derek Lloyd and Jason Fyokovich, illustrated by Kevil A. Bowen. So friends, can you turn on your watching eyes? Can you go blink, blink? Can you turn on your listening ears? Go click, click. Can you go ahead and catch a bubble? Oh. Katie, I really appreciate you tagging along as an adult. Yes. All right. Mr. Jason goes on vacation. Mr. Jason said, it's time for a vacation. So he called a taxi and drove to the station.
Without Mr. Jason, what will we do? If we all take turns, we'll make it through.
Miss Libby's tale incorporated some dance, but failed when she lost her ballet stance.
Oh.
Miss Laura wanted to read a book about a wizard. Her story time was canceled due to a blizzard.
Miss Ana read a story em português. A sua única filha, a princesa, adorava passear sozinha.
Miss Olivia's story ran into some trouble when the bubble machine ran out of bubbles.
Dun, dun, dun.
Miss Jenny's choice was probably the most wise. She chose not to read, to no one's surprise.
Miss Revathy read an old Indian fable. They liked it so much that they climbed on the table. Mr. Matt's effort was perhaps the most close, but the parents said it was a bit too verbose.
Miss Sarah's event started right on time, but the kids complained because she refused to run.
Miss Lori told a story about her son who played hockey. The kids all preferred baseball. It got a bit rocky. Miss Stephanie's story included taking photos. When the kids used the cameras, problems arose.
Miss Alyssa would read a story that was a Victorian classic, but it got postponed due to construction back. Miss Abby made a Mr. Jason puppet for her show. One look into its eyes and the children said, "We admire the work you've done, but it's no substitute for the original."
Miss Mary returned to read with some California flair, but it just reminded everyone that she was no longer there. Mr. Derrick finished with a sweeping tale, but by the end of his story, all the children bailed.
Miss Carol was impressed with the staff's dedication, so she read them a book about sleep and relaxation.
All fell asleep, and I'm back, everyone! All right, and any story time ends with bubbles.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, friends, we're going to do a fun spring song. This is Rain on My Umbrella. Put up one hand and say drip. Put up the other hand and say drop. All right, ready? Here we go. It goes like this. Drip, drip, drop, drop, drip, drip, drop, drop, drip, drip, drop, drip, drip, drop. Rain on my umbrella, rain on my umbrella, never stops, never stops. All right, we're going to do the sign for umbrella. Put your fists together and open it up. All right, we've got some bubbles coming through, and if one of my coworkers would like to use a bubble machine. got two here. Derek, the other one didn't work. It's okay, it's okay. All right, we're coming around with the bubble machine. Pop those bubbles.